Okay, so welcome again. This is the CRM event series for the spring 2013, and we have Leon Tribe with us. Leon is a longtime Dynamics CRM professional and blogger and participant in events with us over the years, and we're glad to have him back today to talk about the future of Dynamics CRM and what it means. So, without further ado, please allow me to hand off control to Leon.
Thanks a lot, and welcome everyone. I'll apologize for my voice up front. I'm a little croaky today. I've just got a bit of a head cold. Hopefully my Australian accent and the croakiness won't be too distracting. But I'll get into it rather than delay further. Firstly, thank you goes out to Chris Cognetta and Jukka Nirinen. Chris is a CRM MVP. He did a great job at summarizing the content that was at Convergence, and I've borrowed some of the content. So some of the what you'll see today is basically from three sources. One is what I'm allowed to share from the MVP Summit. It's also from the Convergence, which Chris Cognetta put together, and also from the Extreme Rome conference, which happened earlier this year, which Jukka sucked the marrow dry out of that conference. He did a great job at getting the various bits and pieces. If you're not certainly looking at their tweets, then feel free to look at their blogs. Very, very knowledgeable chaps. In terms of what I'll cover today, I'm going to talk about the timeline and the cadence, how that's working in terms of online and on-premise parity, and what Microsoft's plans are, or what we can gather from the plans so far. We're going to talk about Polaris, which is the release that's just come out, and what you can see in that one. If you haven't already had a play with that, then I'll be sort of talking about some of the features that you might want to look at for, say, a 30-day trial, and the mobility features we get with that, the integration with Yammer, etc. We're also going to talk about, I don't know if it's been called Gemini outside of the Microsoft circles, but this is basically the marketing pilot features, which have also just recently come out in the US and will, one would assume, be rolled out internationally at some point. We'll also talk a bit about Orion and what we can expect to see there, and what we can expect to see post-Orion, so in the sort of the probably 12 months, 18 months bracket, maybe even a bit longer. If you have any questions, feel free to put them through. You've got the Q&A there, and you've got the chat. Yeah, if you ask questions along the way, I'm more than happy to field them. So in terms of the timelines and cadence, what we know is there's going to be a new version every year which aligns online and on-premise. So at the moment, as some of you may know, the online and on-premise are sort of a bit out of sync. There's certain features on the online which we don't have on-premise. So things like Bing integration, Yammer Integration, things like that. Not quite available on-premise yet. The idea is once a year they'll come back in line, and all those online features, all that goodness that we're seeing on the online, will be brought into the on-premise. And that's going to happen with Orion, one would imagine. Every 6 months, so basically every 6 months there's going to be a major version. One will bring them in line, then there'll be 6 months, and then we'll get some features on the online, which will show us what's coming, and then the next 6 months' time, again, that'll come into the on-premise. In the gap, and this is what we have at the moment, if we're developing online, how do we then bring our developed solutions on-premise? And so currently there's a thing called the down leveling tool, which you can download. So if I develop a solution online, and then I want to bring it to my on-premise environment, I basically package up the solution, I use a down leveling tool, and that'll convert it to, I believe it's a roll-up 5 equivalent package, which I can then install on my on-premise server. What's also been said is that the major updates are going to be different to the roll-ups. So in the past, certainly in the most recent past, so the last 6 to 12 months, there's the roll-ups and the major updates have sort of been bundled together. Bob Stutz has said that won't be happening any longer. That basically the roll-ups will be delivered, and they'll be doing fixes and just fixing the holes. And then separate to that will be feature updates. The specific mechanism hasn't been told to us yet, so we don't know how that's going to work. Presumably the roll-ups will happen as they do now, but how those feature updates will come out, it's going to be a separate mechanism. We just don't know what that mechanism is. Gus is telling me, Gus Gonzalez, CRM MVP, is telling me that the down-leveling tool goes to roll-up 6, he believes. But either way, it should be compatible with your on-premise implementation. In terms of the current timeline that's been released officially, we have that here. And so Polaris has already come out, and Polaris came out in two sets. The second one came out in February. Gemini, which was the marketing pilot, is now being released in the US, and then later on, towards the end of the year, we're going to look at Orion. Microsoft has, I'd say purposefully, not specified a date or a month when Orion's going to come out. If we've got history to go off, then we might expect, say, August, September, because that's when officially Polaris was initially sort of being, the September update was going to be the major one. If we're a little bit cynical, then perhaps it might be closer to the end of the year. Microsoft have not released any official dates. No one knows, ultimately, other than possibly Microsoft. We've got a question from Rick Bellenfond, and he's asking, is Microsoft going to stop supporting custom buttons appearing on forms? If so, since I hear Microsoft is eliminating ribbons. It's true that the ribbon is going. Buttons will be supported. So basically, as I understand it, buttons will appear in the bar at the top. I've got some screenshots here which we'll be seeing of the Orion product, and basically the way you customize that will be the way we customize the ribbon today. So your ribbon customizations will still be compatible in the Orion release, so you don't have to worry about that. In terms of Polaris, its most recent update, we've now got multi-browser support. This is something that we've been calling for a long time, obviously, and we now have it. And this is both on-premise and online. If you've gone up to Rollup 12 on-premise, or if you access CRM Online, you've now got multi-browser support, and that's the usual suspects. This is your Chrome, your Firefox, and IE. Now, in terms of Safari on the Mac is supported. On iPad's only supported online at this stage, I believe. What else we've got in Polaris? We've got the custom workflows online now, so we can create the workflow assemblies. We can execute multiple. So there was always hassles with executing multiple commands to CRM, and so now we can bulk up our requests and send them in one hit, if you like, which allows for a more efficient sort of mass updates and bulk updates and that kind of thing. I've got a question from Simon saying, did you say that Blue Orion Square was a beta release? I'm not sure what Blue Orion Square is. The Orion's not going to be, the Orion is going to be the major version. Sorry, let's go. So he's asking about the timeline. So the Blue, is that a beta release? The Orion there is going to be the full version of Orion, which will bring online and on-premise back into sync, if you like. So that's not beta. That's going to be a full major version release. So if you like, you can think of that as CRM 6. I don't think it's been officially called that, but it's effectively going to be a major release of CRM. The other things we get with Polaris is we have now got multiple instances. Now, the downside with multiple instances in Office 365 is they're $500 a month. Your users can access all of them, so there's no extra CAL cost, but it will cost you $500 a month to have, say, if you've got online, a dev environment online, UAT environment online. In terms of the 2007 endpoints, in Polaris, they're dead for online. So if you're currently using 2007 endpoints for online, these are now apparently dead. If you're on the new OSDP CRM, and we've been told that it's now HTML5 compatible as well. So there's no reason to not start tinkering and playing with developing HTML5 add-ons to your Polaris. A couple more questions coming in. Will the Flow UI forms have scripting limitations for next version? My understanding is that scripting will be supported, and I'll talk about this a bit later on. I believe there will be JavaScript support, but the details of it they haven't released a lot of, unfortunately. And Simon's asking what the orange looks like the release. They just picked different colours, Simon. The blue is the Orion is going to be a full major version when it comes out, and it's going to be later this year, probably August, September, but there's been no official date, so I'm speculating based on history, and that's my optimism. But it could well come out at the end of the year. There's been nothing official, unfortunately. In terms of mobility, so what we've got now is obviously we've got Mobile Express, which we've always had. We've got the CRM browser client for iPad. So for online, if you've got an iPad, you can browse the iPad client. That's quite limited. In my opinion, it's only the COLA entities. So it's contacts, opportunities, leads, and accounts. It's not cases. So if you're only using the COLA entities, you can use the iPad client. Where you go outside of those, it's going to devolve down to either the read views, or it's going to devolve even further down to the Mobile Express. For me, that experience is probably a bit mixed, because you'll have sort of a rich experience for the COLA entities, and then it sort of goes down to a more basic Mobile Express experience for your custom entities. My advice would be to hold off at this point and wait until Orion, when it's going to be a much more complete system, one would assume. There is the unofficial workaround on the internet, which is you just go to main.spx. So instead of putting in your URL for your CRM, you just put main.spx at the end, and it kind of skips the browser check and just puts you straight into the client. I've heard a lot of positive feedback on the net that you can get the iPad Safari browser doing most things doing that trick, but obviously you try it for yourself. In terms of what's coming out as part of Orion, we're going to see applications for Windows 8 and iPad, and these are going to be proper apps. So this isn't just sort of an HTML5 compatible. What I'm understanding from this is these will be full-blown apps available for those platforms. Marty Adler's asking me for the iPad trick again. So when you put into, say you've got your CRM URL, so https://CRM, what you do is you put /main.aspx, so main, M-A-I-N, .aspx, and it skips the browser check, and that'll put you through to the normal web client that you'd see on, say, Internet Explorer. From what I'm hearing, that most things work in that. The dashboards, I think, might have a bit of trouble, so you might want to get off the dashboards as quick as you can. But in terms of the main sort of navigation, it should be fine. In terms of future release, Microsoft is saying that they're going to release an Android app for CRM. And at the moment, the iPad experience, as I say, is more sort of for sales, and they're talking about mobile apps for the customer service and for marketing as well. But at the moment, it's basically those COLA apps, and that's where those COLA entities, and that's where they're going to keep that focus. So as I mentioned, there are limitations to the iPad client. I've said COLAC here. It's actually just the COLA entities. Cases are not included at this point. And as I say, it's a limited preview version. If you're doing very basic salesy type stuff, you can use it, no problem. If you're not, either don't worry about the iPad client or do that sort of workaround trick if you like. The new mobile client that's coming is the Mocha. Now, this is not the CWR product. So the 12 months ago, I guess, Microsoft announced that they were going in with CWR for their mobile product. That's not the case. Well, it's no longer the case. It appears that Microsoft are developing their own product. It's called the Mobile Client Application. And this will be a general sort of mobile product. Bob Stutz said at Extreme Rome that it's going to be free, so it will be a non-charged product. The thinking was when it was CWR, there was going to be a fee involved, so that's probably a good thing, right? So they're now basically doing it in-house, which means they can control the experience a bit better. In terms of the look and feel of it, this is a screenshot they've released. What you'll see here is on the top right there, you've got sort of this Flow UI stage concept. You've got the fields down the bottom to create the contact. It's just going to be hopefully a good mobile experience in general. And that'll be the Mocha client. They're talking about it being configurable and customizable, which is good. So we'll see what comes out when Mocha eventually comes out. Yammer Integration is available now. That integrates with the activity wall. It allows you to search for CRM records within Yammer, but basically you have to get a Yammer Enterprise account to enable that, and that price is about $3 per user. Now, one thing to remember at the moment with the Yammer integration is the security of Yammer is not as rich as it is in CRM. And so basically I've only seen it briefly, but basically when you put a message that's going to go to Yammer, you can say, well, it's a private message or everyone can see it. So this sort of richness of business units and that kind of, that layer of security where certain business units can see certain records, certain some can't, it's more blunt. The security is a sort of more of a blunt tool with Yammer so that everyone can see it, or maybe one person, I believe, can see it, or something like that with the private. It's something like this. Rip Bellenfon's asking, is the out-of-the-box workflow engine going to be made more robust to do things like triggering on a field, having a certain value, and looping without calling a child process? I'm not sure if there's been anything officially said regarding the workflow engine. I know it's a focus per user per month. Sorry for Vicky. Vicky's asking, is that price $3 per user per month? So Yammer, yes, that's $3 per user per month. In terms of the workflow, I don't think anything official has been released. I know it's an area of focus for them. So one can imagine we'll be seeing stuff coming up in the future. But yeah, there's been no official announcements about the workflow at this point. Certainly, it's even when they brought out the dialogue stuff, there were things in the dialogue that they could bring down into the workflow, so the query step and things like that. It would be lovely to see that in workflow. And yeah, as I say, I know it's an area of focus for them. I just don't know if anything's been officially announced yet. Yep, that's all the questions at the moment. Any more capabilities for the current activity? Well, not as far as I know, other than the Yammer integration. One other thing with the Yammer integration is if you're keen to see this, then the partners, Microsoft partners, are going to get effectively a freebie Yammer Enterprise account, which they can use for demonstration purposes. So if you're keen to see this, if you're a user and you're working with a Microsoft partner, if you're keen to see the Yammer integration, your partner should be able to access Microsoft Now, and they should be able to give you a demonstration of that. So if you're a bit unwilling to sort of get into a 12-month contract with Yammer, just so you can sort of see the feature, hit up your Microsoft partner. They should be able to assist with that. Mobile capabilities for the current activity wall, but not as far as I know. Other than, I assume in Mocha it'll be compatible, but with the current activity wall and current mobile compatibilities, not at all. In terms of social, so social's been a point of differentiation, if you like, in the market regarding CRM. We've got Parrot at the moment, which is a great little product, but Microsoft have now sort of put their line in the sand. So they've now purchased NetBreeze. And what's interesting about NetBreeze, the big thing they're pushing with NetBreeze is it supports 28 writing systems. So apparently a lot of the social analytic tools out there will take foreign language tweets, foreign language messages. They'll convert them to a base language, let's say English, and then they'll try and do analytics on the translation. One of the differentials for NetBreeze is they say, no, well, we do the analytics in the native language, and so but hopefully one would hope that would lead to a better quality of analysis, because we don't lose anything in the translation, so to speak. In terms of what it monitors, it's monitoring Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and literally thousands, if not millions, of news blogs and message boards. So there's a lot of things it's monitoring. When it was pre-Microsoft, there was a freemium offering available, so you could sort of test it, try it out. That's not available. Microsoft have made noises that they're keen to get that freemium up and running again. It's currently offline. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. Again, there's no official dates on that. I imagine it will be of the order of weeks rather than months, but I know nothing official or unofficial for that matter. But that will be my understanding, is we'll be seeing a freemium sampling of NetBreeze very, very soon. When will NetBreeze be available? I imagine with Orion. So there was on the slide, on the timeline slide, you saw Orion marketing. Possibly with that, although I assume that refers to the marketing pilot. One would hope with Orion, but off the top of my head, I can't recall whether that's officially with Orion or not. There's been no official dates, but I think it may be with Orion. When we get to the slides, I'll double check. Vicky Burton's asking, is there any LinkedIn monitoring through NetBreeze? Not as far as I know. I did stumble across a LinkedIn integration with CRM the other day made by LinkedIn themselves. So if you get a LinkedIn premium account, LinkedIn have got a solution which you can apply to your CRM system, which allows you to basically hook it into LinkedIn. So if you're keen for that LinkedIn integration, get a LinkedIn premium account, and if you have a browse and see if you can find it. If you can't, feel free to email me, leon.tribe@gmail.com, and I'll find the link for you. More than happy to provide it. So Vicky's asking, if a company is blocked from YouTube, Facebook, etc., will NetBreeze still be able to bring the info to CRM? I imagine it would, but it really depends on how it's strung together in the back end, and that's something I don't know. I imagine NetBreeze would capture all that data in some kind of location and then feed it through to CRM, in which case, as long as NetBreeze has got a pipe through to CRM, it shouldn't be a problem. But off the top of my head, I don't know the structure of NetBreeze in the back end, unfortunately. In terms of what it looks like, the NetBreeze, we've got things like sentiment analysis, and Revlon's the company they're trialing this with, apparently, so a lot of this is around Revlon and lipsticks and things like this. Here we've got some of the language analytics. It might be a bit tricky to read there, but it's basically, it's seen the Nearly Naked, which is apparently a Revlon product, and so it's discovered that in the text. And then it's looked for the expressions, and it's recognized that they're positive things that are being said about the Revlon product. So this is the sentiment analysis, if you like. In terms of integration into CRM, here we have an Orion screen. So maybe this answers the question from before, and I was sort of a bit unsure. Here we've got an Orion screen, and there in the bottom right we've got the top influencers, so we've got an integration effectively into NetBreeze. So based on the screenshot, my speculation will be we'll be seeing it when Orion comes out later this year sometime, or very early next year. But let's hope let's be optimistic. Let's put it out there and be optimistic that it'll be late this year sometime. And for those that haven't seen the Orion screen, again, you'll see at the top there you've got the Flow UI. What you won't see here is a save button. There's absolutely no save buttons here. And you won't see the visor, the help advisor in that one where you can click on videos and things which no one used and everyone minimized. Microsoft have listened and got rid of that now, which is good. So Gemini, as it was called, is the rollout of the marketing capability from Marketing Pilot. So Marketing Pilot is another acquisition that Microsoft have recently made, and this is around basically providing marketing functionality. So I don't think it's any big secret that Dynamics CRM's marketing module has its limitations. If you want to create rich HTML emails, it's actually quite difficult to do in CRM. And generally people went to excellent products like Click Dimensions, Core Motives, these kind of things, Exact Target, to provide that functionality. Microsoft have now made a purchase in that area, and it's called this Marketing Pilot. And as of today, the connector is now available for the USA. So it's not integrated to CRM, but there is a connector that allows you to basically have Marketing Pilot chat to CRM. In terms of what it does, this is not just another Click Dimensions or another Core Motives. It does a lot more than that. It tries to be a comprehensive marketing tool. And because of that, it's really more of an enterprise level. So although it does things like mass marketing, it allows you to do things like landing pages, I don't necessarily see this as a complete substitute to some of the mass marketing tools out there like the ones I've mentioned. This is really for an enterprise level organization. There probably will be a cost involved. There was a cost involved when it was running independently. I can't imagine that Microsoft are going to be releasing it for free now. And so for the organization that just wants point functionality, like say they want an online form and they want that information to come into CRM, there's still going to be those point functions out there which will provide the job. For a larger organization that's happy to throw money at the problem and want a comprehensive solution where they can do their document management as well as mass marketing, et cetera, agency management, then this is going to be the product for them, there's no doubt. It also allows you to mass market to social channels. So if we can think of NetBreeze as the sort of the one that's pulling information in from the social, this is going to allow people to push information out to the social as well. So we'll be able to mass market to mass create tweets and things like that, I imagine. But yeah, I have no doubt that almost certainly they'll be charging for this product. Again, I'm not sure if there's anything official or unofficial released, but I'd be very surprised if they brought this out as a freebie, simply because it wasn't a freebie when it was out on its own. And Microsoft have released some nice slides regarding what's the differentiators here. So it provides access offline online channels, a closed loop experience, and I've got a screenshot where we can see some of that, taken from the Convergence slides. Full-blown agency management, so in terms of managing the collateral from the agency, then sending the information out, etc., then monitoring what comes back. And if we look at the screenshots, and so here we are again in the Orion screenshot. So this is the, if you look at the top bar there, that's effectively what we have on the left now in terms of entities. And then we can see here they've got campaign management in the middle there, and we've got various campaign stuff. We've got the marketing database. We've got a thing called vendors. So whatever that is going to bring to the CRM piece is a bit unknown at this point. Down over on the right there, we've got the landing page thing that I mentioned, the landing page functionality. David Dukin, I apologize if I completely louse up your surname, is asking if the slide's going to be available for download. I can't see why not. There's no material here which is not in the public domain, either via those two conferences or is information which I've already been given the green light to share. So I can't see any reason why they wouldn't be made available as part of this. If you have troubles, again, more than happy to share them. So yeah, try and get it through this event. But if you have any troubles, again, leon.tribe@gmail.com. More than happy to pass on the slides. So there's no issue there at all. A few other bits and pieces that I picked up from the Convergence slides. So what's interesting here is this is a campaign. This is a campaign in Orion again. What I thought was really interesting is we've got a spreadsheet there. So down the bottom there, we've got a spreadsheet. It's doing some kind of calculation. So it looks like it's some kind of inline spreadsheet functionality, which we may be getting as part of the new product. I've heard nothing about that, but it'd be pretty cool if we did. So I've included the screenshot so we can all get excited together. And then if we look at here, we've got what is effectively the new version of the old campaign record. And it's a bit tricky to read, but down the bottom there, you've got the chart where you've got your opens, unique clicks. So if any of you are using those closed loop marketing products today, so the click dimensions, for example, you're getting this kind of information through the click dimensions. Basically, click dimensions will send out the information. They'll monitor what gets opened, what gets clicked, etc. Then they'll feed that back into CRM. Here we're seeing a very similar functionality that's going to be provided by the marketing pilot tool. And another similar function here is the creation of templates. So this is the templating tool, again built into the product. Again, very similar to things you'd see in click dimensions, etc. Just to emphasize, if only for my good friend Matt Whitterman, I do not see these as completely equivalent products. I do not see Marketing Pilot as a replacement for those click dimensions or those kind of products. So because I think this is more of an enterprise solution and it's going to cost money and it's going to provide a whole slew of functions. If you need point solution, if you need that mass marketing, this will provide it and 50 other things. If you just need that mass marketing, then those products out in the market which provide those functions are going to do the job magnificently. So please don't sell your shares in click dimensions, etc. quite yet. I think they've still got quite a bit of legs behind them. Any news on whether autosave is going to become optional in Orion? Not that I know of, no. So obviously they're moving away from having save buttons and having basically save contextual on the form. I have seen, I think it's in the current forms. If you go online with the current forms, there is a little save button down the bottom right. Now, I've not used it or fully tested the functionality, so I don't know if that'll carry through to Orion so that you can sort of do a manual save whenever you like if you don't want to click out of a field or something. I'm not sure. What about an undo? Excellent question. I see this causing a lot of problems for us folk that are used to the save button. I've heard nothing official or unofficial regarding the undo button, but I can see people accidentally clicking into a field and maybe mistyping or something like this and causing themselves a bit of grief. Hopefully Microsoft will be forgiving. I know one of their core tenets for creating these screens is to make them forgiving for the user. So hopefully they'll embrace that and give us the ability to, say, undo the Control-Z functionality. Until it comes out, I'm not sure. But there's certainly been no official word. But I'll be hoping that Control-Z will at least give us some kind of reprieve when we're in the CRM forms. In terms of Gemini takeouts, it's a complete end-to-end marketing solution, which may be too much for many people. Currently, it's cloud-based delivery. There's no on-prem version. Whether that'll change in the future, we're not sure. It is still early days, so I don't think we need to, sort of pack up shop regarding the other solutions we're using in our business at the moment. In terms of the richness of functionality, I'm sure that'll come along the way. Will there be a cost associated to it? I'll be surprised if there wasn't. So I imagine this will be a costed solution. And big question is what happens with CRM's internal marketing functions? What happens to the marketing module? If Microsoft are trying to sell the marketing pilot functionality, they don't have a massive motivation to improve that internal marketing module. So I can't see that being developed strongly in the future. In that slide further back where they talked about building out functionality, so they talk about, actually no, it's coming up, so I apologize. There's a slide coming up where they talk about what's coming in the future. Services mentioned, marketing not so much. I think the internal marketing module is probably going to stay reasonably static. Again, nothing official there, but that would be my belief, because they don't have a lot of motivation to make it amazing when they've got a product like Marketing Pilot, which they're intending to sell. Vicky Burns asked, will there be a way to disable autosave, especially if you have script that fires after several fields are completed? One would hope so. The functionality of how that's going to all work with Orion, I imagine they're still figuring out. There's been nothing official about how this works. You can certainly have a play today with the flow forms, the Flow UI forms in the CRM Online product. How it's going to work specifically in Orion, there's been not a lot talked about. They've got the demo systems, but I think my belief is it's still a work in progress. I am hoping, because it is a big change for us, right? It's a big change to go from having save buttons, having say 4 save buttons in the case of the activities, down to no save buttons whatsoever. That's a big change for us. So I'm hoping they'll be gentle, but there's not a lot out there to tell us whether they're going to be gentle or brutal, unfortunately. In terms of Orion's time frame, so Bob said July apparently at Extreme Rome. I think that's quite optimistic. I think Bob is being very optimistic there. From that timeline, you could extend it. If you extend, so the way we had the little galaxy and the little blue and the oranges, you sort of extend it out. August, September seems to be where the point lands if you linearly extend the months. Summer 2013 is the official word. So it's sometime in summer 2013, and this will be probably towards, I guess, the end of summer in America. We're going to see Orion. That'll align the on-premise and online, as I've mentioned. There'll be no more ribbon. We'll be getting the sort of the bars at the top, but they will be ribbon extended compatible. So the ribbon XML will still be friendly towards that. We've got a question from Jerome. Will the update upgrade from current CRM 2011 UR13 to 2011 Orion be of the same impact as 4 to 2011? Given this is what amounts to a new version, I imagine it will be of a similar impact. I imagine there will not be a path going from 4 straight to Orion, because Microsoft traditionally sort of allow you to go 1 back, but not 2 back. So it will be of a similar impact, I imagine, yes. In a little bit, I'll talk about some of the stuff we lose with Orion, and so that'll give you an idea as well, right? So we're losing some functionality when Orion comes out, in terms of, say, the endpoints, etc. And so that might give you an idea of how it might impact your business, depending on what customizations you've done. With Orion, JScript will be supported again. So you'll notice on the Flow UI forms and on the online product at the moment that JScript doesn't work on those. JScript will be supported again. And the Flow UI will be on custom entities. This is what's also been told to us. So we'll be able to roll the Flow UI processes onto custom entities. Mark Evans is saying, is there going to be a partner preview regards the final Orion release to give ISVs time to review, upgrade existing customers? It would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Because the last thing we want to do is roll out Orion and have everything break. Microsoft are cognizant of that. I'd be very surprised if they didn't do one. My hope is that we're involved as early as possible, because obviously the earlier we're involved, the more time we've got to find issues, and the more time Microsoft have got to repair them. So one would hope. I know it's something that they're keen to do, and I know they've recognised that in the past they may not have done as well as they could. So I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to, that there will be a partner preview prior to the Orion release, because it would be very foolish, frankly, if they didn't. Okay. Vicky Burton says, I think you said buttons would be supporting Orion, but if no ribbon, where do you put them? So what you've got at the top, you've got a bar at the top with commands on it. So it's a bit like Dynamics GP, I guess. It's sort of more, it's harking back to sort of that menu type scenario. My understanding is the buttons will appear up there. So you can extend that with the ribbon XML, and the ribbon XML will manifest itself in the bar where the commands are. So this is where your buttons are going to appear, but there is no more ribbon per se. Will the Orion flow process forms be mandatory or still optional like the new forms are now? Microsoft are moving away from the classic forms. All right, so will it still be optional? I imagine not. I think they're going to be, so the more familiar you become with the flow forms, the better. Microsoft are moving away from that. They want this flow experience, if you like, for CRM. They feel it's a better user experience than the classic forms. They're looking for a more process-driven experience rather than a sort of data entry experience. So, yeah, I would be expecting that Orion will not allow you to go to a classic form option when it comes out. And here we go again. And so here we can see we've got at the top classic navigation modules, so not on the left anymore, they're at the top. And you can imagine if we click on sales, then we've got the dashboard, the leads, opportunities, etc. It's green now instead of blue, but there we go. And then we can click on the opportunity. And then we can see the most recently viewed opportunities. And we can see a list of opportunities as well underneath. And you can see everything's happening in that top bar up there, right? So we've got the sales, we've got the opportunities, we've got that top bar. And my understanding is that's where you're going to see your ribbon buttons. It's somewhere up there. Scott's saying he did a mock-up of what the ribbon workbench might look like with the new UI. He's got the URL here, which I'm more than happy to copy and share. and hopefully it's not a rickroll. Hopefully it is a genuine, but I'm sure it is. There we go. So Scott's provided that. He's saying he's a mock-up of what the Revamp workbench might look like with the new UI. So feel free to click on that and you can see what his vision is for it. In terms of then we're clicking on the record, and again we've come back to our flow UI experience. So we've got the flow at the top, and you'll see down in the bottom right there you've got that save button. And so maybe that's our manual save, but generally it's going to be auto-saving the whole time. So the moment you click out of a field, it auto-saves. The moment you click onto another area, say another stage of the flow, it's going to auto-save. The moment you click outside of the screen, it's going to, or click onto another area in CRM, it's going to auto-save. So the idea is it's just going to be basically touching anything else will auto-save. That seems to be the experience they're aiming for. It is a big change for us, and certainly when the MVPs were at Summit, there was concern expressed because it's quite a big change. It's something different for us. And the things like the JScript and how's that going to work, these are things that we're going to be looking at carefully because we don't want to break the current experience, right? So we'll see what they come up with, right? We'll see what they come up with, and hopefully it'll be fine. I'm sure it will. They're smart chaps. I have every confidence. So here we've got a screen. So with the previous one, it was the record, and now we're going to sort of other areas. And so here we've got the activities area, etc. So we can see the related records of this record. So Marty Adler is saying that the inability to match Flow UI process for different business units or sales processes is a problem. I agree. It is quite limited at this point. I imagine, given that they said that they're going to be allowing custom flow processes for custom entities, I imagine there's going to be some work put in there to give it more flexibility. Again, I don't think anything's been officially or unofficially announced, but it would make sense if they're going to make it available for custom entities, that they're going to put some thought and some flexibility in there as well. So again, we can be optimistic that they're going to put some effort into that. So what dies with Orion? The help visor is dead. For those of you that used it, you can mourn it. For the rest of us, we'll never miss it. It just got in the way, and it just meant something we had to go to user options to get rid of every time we went to a new CRM. There is definitely a move away from the classic form. So again, this talks to the question that was asked earlier. The classic forms is a paradigm that they're moving away from. They are moving to a process-driven paradigm. So this is where their investment's going to be, right? So again, talking at the different process flows for different business units, different sales, etc. This is where they're going to be investing their money. So we can I don't think we're going to be too disappointed in that regard. The ribbon dies, but the command bar is customizable and supports ribbon XML. Version 4 script support dies, and Microsoft have said in no uncertain terms, if you are still on version 4, you should probably move off of it, because otherwise you're going to be 2 versions behind when Orion comes out. So the idea would be if you're on version 4 now, and there's a lot of good features in 2011. There's good reasons to go off version 4 anyway. Right, so 2011 was the last of the 3-year cadence versions. And so there's a lot of features that came out in 2011, right? So over 500, I think they claimed. But things like dashboards, things like team ownership of records, there's some handy stuff, auditing out of the box. There's some handy good stuff in 2011. So if you're still on version 4, please at least consider 2011. Given that when Orion comes out, you're going to be 2 versions behind and there's no direct upgrade path, it might be worth thinking about that now. As I understand it, version 4 main support, mainstream support from Microsoft is now finished effectively, either this month or next month. So you won't be able to get you'll have to basically pay to get support from Microsoft for version 4 as well soon. Will the command bar be customizable separately per entity? I don't know, is the honest answer. That's Vicky Burton's asking that question. I've got no idea. Hopefully they'll make it flexible. Obviously with the preview stuff, that's quite canned, and it's not sort of that XRM type experience, extensibility that we've seen in the classic product. It's probably not there so much in what we've seen in the online previews. One would hope that they do bring that in for Orion, that we can extend the product like we can with the sort of the more classic forms, if you like. But the short version is, the short answer is I actually don't know. I don't know if the bar will be customizable separately per entity. I imagine it would be, but I don't know. In terms of what's coming soon, there is talk of an online email router, or router for our friends in England. And so at the moment, of course, if we're not using the Outlook client to send out emails, then we've got to have a server on premise, which we install the email router on. That can be a bit inconvenient, especially if we're a cloud-based organization. So there is talk of an online email router coming soon. Also, they're talking about offline support for mobility. So with that Mocha client, that won't initially be an offline client. So CWR still provides an offline capability, so there is a point of differentiation there for CWR. But when they eventually get around to providing offline support, then the differences between CWR and the Mocha products from Microsoft will be a lot smaller. And if Mocha's free, then that'll be quite compelling. We've got a question from Simon. Lots of focus on the UI. Are there any platform improvements in Orion itself? Duplicate detection, for example. Nothing that's been announced. So I know of nothing, no emphasis in that regard. So one thing that I'd like to see in duplicate detection is SoundX, for example. SQL Server supports it. As far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why that couldn't be surfaced up to CRM. But I've heard of nothing to suggest that that's actually going to be there. But that would be lovely. What would be the impact of Orion be on something like CCA? Excellent question, Greg. So CCA, for those that aren't aware of it, is a customer care accelerator. This is like a call center, multiple tabbed environment, which you get as a freebie with CRM. So it used to be its own separate product, and that's a freebie. If you go to Codeplex and type in customer care, then it should come up in the searches. And it's a free add-on. It allows for, it's basically for a call center environment where you've got multiple applications, and you've got to do things like pass information between the multiple applications. It can do screen scraping and do that. It can set, it can sort of put a hold on say, a case and then pass it across to another person. It's a platform that allows those kind of things. The emphasis, though, is it is only a platform, and there's a lot of development that's required on it. What would be the impact of Orion on something like CCA? At this stage, nothing's been announced. It's an interesting one, CCA, because it has a lot of potential. So if Microsoft do put a bit of investment in there, they could do some very interesting things. And if you're looking to build that kind of call center environment, it's certainly worth a look at as a baseline platform. Out of the box, the functionality is quite limited, but as a baseline development platform, it can be, it certainly has potential. As opposed to Orion, so offline support coming soon. At the moment, with the mobility client, what they're calling it occasionally offline. So if you lose connection, then it comes back up again. The client's not going to go blue screen or anything silly like this. It can handle sort of basically only chatting when it needs to. But proper offline support will be coming at some time post Orion. So let's say 18 months or 2 years or something like this. No official dates, just saying post Orion. So if we say Orion's the next 6 months, and they're saying we're going to be looking at this, then I reckon it's probably reasonable to say 12, 18 months. They did the nice little screen as well. And as I mentioned before, so this is the next frontier. So this is, again, the stuff that's coming real soon, but not soon enough. So not this side of Orion. The one which I'm really, really happy about is the first one, the customer service revamp. So there's elements of the customer service module which don't get used a lot. Things like contracts and contract lines. In my experience, maybe, I think I might have seen that used twice in my career. It doesn't get used a lot generally, and that's not because it's not great. It's simply because the functionality is quite tightly defined, and unless your business does things as the contracts dictate, it's difficult to modify. And there's other areas of that service module which are similar to that as well. Service scheduling has some limitations in that regard as well. So to see a customer service revamp is great. What is missing here, though, is a marketing revamp. So to talk about what I said before, I don't think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the marketing module, to be honest, in the product. I think the efforts are going to be to integrating the marketing pilot into CRM and then having people pay a fee for the privilege. And they have some of the other bits there, so the other one that jumps out. So it'll be, the mobility I mentioned, mobile client Android. And a couple more questions. Is online email router the same as server-side mailbox sync? There is talk of that as well. There are rumors of that kind of thing coming. So perhaps it is. I don't think they've really talked about how they're looking to do the online email router, but it would make sense that if they're going to do server-side, i.e. exchange sync, that they roll that in. So again, I don't know. I don't think they've really. It's an idea. I don't think they've really fleshed it out yet. What would be great if that kind of thing did come is CRM would suddenly be compatible with things like OWA, the web version of Outlook, things like that. Which would be great, because currently, as you probably know, the OWA experience you can't really build Outlook, build CRM into it. What about other solutions in Codeplex, especially the one enhancing workflow activities? In terms of, I'm guessing Danny's asking there whether they're going to be compatible with new versions of CRM. Really, because these are open source projects, it really depends on the project and how they've coded it. If they're using the version 4 endpoints and version 4 technologies, when Orion comes out, that stuff's not going to work. It really depends on how those workflows are being configured. Would we still have role-based forms in Orion? I don't know. It would make sense. It would make sense. You could have role-based forms and then have processes on top of them. So intuitively, it makes sense to me that you would have that. And they've got to upgrade, right? So the other way to think about it is, okay, well, let's say I've got two role-based forms now, and I upgrade. How are they going to support that? So it makes sense that they'd maintain a role-based form concept. If they're moving away from classic forms, then they'd have to have role-based forms in the new forms. So my speculation would be they will support it, simply because they've got to be backwardly compatible with the role-based forms we've got today. So that'd be a guess. It is a pure guess. That'd be my guess. So yes, that's the new frontier. I think I've got a question slide here. Thank you. And yeah, look, I'm more than happy to hang around. Obviously, I'm a bit croaky, and again, I apologise for that. If you have any other questions, more than happy to field them as I can. And yeah, and thank you for attending. Role-based views? No news on that at all, I'm afraid, Danny.
Well, thank you, Leon, for joining us.
No problem at all. We'll ask Jason if the deck's going to be made available. If not, then yeah, I'm more than happy to provide it. There's all these screenshots are from Convergence or from Extreme, etc. So everything's public here.
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to host a copy of those for download on our site, and obviously people could probably get in touch with you directly for them too if they'd like to.
Yeah, absolutely. Either or, I'm more than happy.
Here's an interesting question there, Leon. Guidance for ISVs or solution publishers about making their products compatible with Orion.
I'd be putting the hard word on Microsoft. So if you've got a PAM, I'd be putting the hard word on, saying please get us into the TAP programs or the Metro equivalent programs, just so you can get access to the product when it's made available for testing. That's the best guidance I can give, unfortunately. If you've got version 4 technology in your solutions, get it out, because that stuff's going to all die with Orion. That much I can tell you. Right, so if you're using the version 4 endpoints or anything like that, get it out now, because that's going to die. But otherwise, yeah, just put the hardware on them, just keep hassling them, and get onto a TAP program when it comes out. I don't believe it's out yet, but when it comes out, just beat them to death to get onto it.
I know personally, I certainly heard other people from ISV organizations wondering the same thing at Convergence, and I know people are definitely paying very close attention to when they can either join a TAP program or get some of the advanced guidance for it to get their products upgraded. It's certainly an area of concern for many people. Well, we can make a last call for questions here, Leon. I don't see any others on my side. I did a couple other people saying thank you, but I'll forward that on to you, Leon.
My pleasure. Yeah, then hopefully the voice wasn't too indecipherable.
No, it sounded good to me once we got you back, and a lot of great international. Great international audience here. We had people checking in from, I'm going to forget some, but France, England, Brazil, the U.S., different cities in the U.S., and I'm sure several other countries. Yourself in Australia. So thanks again. I think we'll wrap up here unless anything else is coming in. All right. Well, we are recording today's session. We'll make that available too. So, Leon, thanks again for your time today, for sharing what you know.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. And thanks to everyone for attending, and have a good day.